Hello and welcome to another episode of Played with Meg and Mike. We are here after our first merged tribal council with our new Tendua group. And the player who was voted out in a very surprising vote, I must say, with only 4 votes out of all 14 people, Chelsea was sent home.
Hey.
So, yeah. Chelsea, what happened?
The votes did not work out in my favor. So we had a pretty good plan today. And then in a last minute kind of FU, I think Chris Pittman pulled some shenanigans. He played an idol to, Sorry,
Meg?
Who could have ever seen that coming?
Well, Chris had approached me to want to work together, and I was always kind of skeptical, and I'll get into some of that and some of why in a minute. But I know Chris plays a game of I will keep you around until you're no longer good to me. And I think my not leaning into something he and I chatted about yesterday, just because I didn't think it was a good idea after getting off the phone with him. And then it's kind of like he was immune to throwing out people's names and it not being a negative thing. But then he made a comment to me. He's like, I heard something that pissed me off, so I did what I did. And I was like, well, I'd be interested to know what it was that you heard because I know you threw my name out today. So, it's how does that work that it's okay for you but not okay for me? So it'll be interesting. Yeah, it is. And I think it'll be interesting to, he wants to have a chat tomorrow morning. So we'll do that and we shall see. But things are always easier when you are, when you're on the other side, right? Like when you're no longer in the game.
Of course. And you know what I mean? Chris had immunity this week, or at this tribal, so he was certainly must have been more willing to take a risk or willing to do what he wanted because of that safety, it sounds like. So do you want to talk through that? Like, so so if I'm understanding correctly, it sounded like he was trying to get you to do something, you didn't do it, and he retaliated with this.
Yeah, so he had approached me yesterday about voting out Brian. And at first, like my kind of rule of thumb is always kind of say yes first and just be like, yeah, that's an option. You never want to close doors that, well, Chelsea's against me, I'm definitely voting her out. So, okay, he wants to vote Brian. Brian's a really good player. And, it was like, yeah, okay, yeah, like we can talk about it. But this is also Tuesday morning and a vote's Wednesday night. And, like anything can happen in the last 2 seconds of a vote, never mind 48 hours before a vote. So, the more you think about it, the more you kind of talk through it. I knew I was behind the 8 ball to begin with, just given, as I mentioned in the video, just not a lot of trust given the whole Graham vote and Cowan vote. And maybe that's my karma. Maybe it came back to bite me in the arse. But yeah, I think it was just something I did or didn't do he didn't like. And instead of coming to me, as he has expected me to go to him, he's like, I tried to play with you. And it's like, no, I think you tried to play me. And so it's a different story. And yeah, like there's a lot of double standards in this game. And that's okay. That is the game.
Part of me always wonders if it's just because typically the guys outnumber the girls so badly, but it's also just something that happens in everyday life too. So I think there's something to that for sure. Do you think that people kind of thought you had an immunity idol and also that's another reason why you were kind of first and foremost in people's mind?
Yes, I think German has really pushed a narrative that I have it. And guess what? Look who's out of the game and no idol was played. So, sometimes you have to wonder if the person who pushes the hardest is the one who has it. And I have to wonder if maybe Chris played an idol for someone who has an idol tonight. So if that's the case, like German is far better at this game than he lets on.
So do you have a bit of a retrospective that you wanted to walk through today?
Yes, I do. Give me one second.
Chelsea, when did you put this together?
I put this together almost as soon as we merged. So you guys can see my screen right now. This is Played, a look back.
We can, yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to first send my apologies to everybody that I did vote out. It was not you. It was me trying to play my game. So we'll just move on. So it was interesting knowing that Kyle won a secret advantage. And I think if anybody was wondering, Kyle and I were definitely 110% working together this entire time. So, that's my partner right there. We just won a tribe swap merge thingy. And we knew he was coming to Gabara to be with me. So, yay. So Kyle and I used to hang out actually. And so the idol that just sent me home, I was sitting in a park with Chris and we made sure that Chris won the idol. So we knew where the Nivella idol was. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can see that my sister-in-law is now messaging me. So you're welcome, Chris. Glad you got that idol. And the irony of it being used to send me home is not lost on me. Okay, so then Chris would also copy and paste my messages and send them to Kyle, but he would also edit them. So nice try. Have a seat. Yeah. So I would get screenshots of Chris changing my messages. So instead of forwarding a message, he would copy, paste, and change. And I think he called me out in one of our group messages that I don't say LOL. I write out ha, space, ha, space, ha. And I remember Kyle had sent me a screenshot. And I was kind of like, wow, I am super whiny. Like, I can't believe I said that as Chris is regaling Kyle with our conversation. Then I go back and check the history, and it has been changed. So thanks, Chris. Nice try. Kyle and I were working together, and we caught you.
I didn't know Chris knew how to do that.
Yeah. So week 8, German winning an idol that can only be used for another tribe, and he gives it to Kyle. Well, that was easy to get that idol, and sadly, that is the one that sent Cowan home. Mike thinking Jordan is Kyle's secret partner this season. I'm here for that. We were one of our
I was never convinced it was anybody specific.
Well, one of our biggest pillars was making sure that our relationship was hidden and people didn't know. And I think near the end it began to become more apparent, but we were here for it. Cowan saying I screwed him on the Elliot vote. Hard pass. Elliot was the target that week, Cowan was the target that week. He was going to go home. And I did do a lot of work to keep him in the game. And after that, it went downhill. And I'll get into that in a second. So Cowan, no, I kept you.
Well, then it sounds like Cowan did a pretty good job at that one to get to not go home at least for one more vote.
Yeah. And I will say that I took more calls from Cowan than anybody else and made sure that I was doing everything I could to get his name off the block. So, that's how it went down. Mike telling Kyle to just vote for Chelsea and telling Chelsea why not vote for Kyle. Thanks, Mike. We caught you.
I give people lots of options because when there's 5 people on a tribe.
Yeah, no, it's fun. But also sending Graham home was not fun. But I had sworn up and down to Sharon I would not vote her. So Jordan and Graham both knew that. And that is what that was. I thought I was even shocked by Kyle. I won't lie. I was. So guys, I won the secret advantage before the merge. Won't tell you what it is or if it's gone somewhere else, if I was allowed to gift it, but I won it. Got to win something in this game.
Good job,
also arriving at merge, I was nervous. So don't think that I was cocky and felt like I had this, because I sure didn't. And I kind of figured I would be here sooner than later. And so the irony of Brian telling Chris I sing like a bird, and later I found out that he was repeating everything I said to Kyle, absolutely everything. Kyle planning to engage Jordan to get rid of Cowan, but Jordan calling me wanting to keep Kyle and boot Cowan. That made that narrative a little bit easier. Jordan telling Kyle they needed to be ready to flip on me, then Jordan getting really upset when Kyle flipped on him and Graham. So, double standard there. May 21st, Chris saying he wants to vote me out because it would crush me. Saw that text. And then, a couple days ago telling me he wants to go to top 10. So, Chris, I know how you play the game, and I knew not to trust you from day one. Oh, and then after the Graham vote, Cowan telling me I should have called him because he could have explained how it would have gone down. I think there needs to be a little bit more respect for how people are playing their own game, and that decisions to be made needed to be made on their own. And so one final thought that I've had, and then I'll stop sharing, is at what point in the game do you sacrifice your game when a friend asks you point blank about a game-related question?
I think that's too vague of a question, Chelsea, to have a specific answer for.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing if I know how to do that now. So when Jordan came to me, for example, Okay, no, even better. People think I have the idol. And they're just like, Chelsea, just tell me if you got it. Just tell me if you got it. And it's like, if I did have it, and let's make German happy. I had it. If I did, at what point do I sacrifice my game because a friend is asking me a question about the game, and so they're more informed on the game? At what point does your friendship trump the game?
I think never. I think the game always trumps friendships while the game is on. And then with idols and kind of your own secrets, I would say you only keep them, I'm just muting Meg because I'm hearing background there. I would say you keep your secrets and you only tell them to like one person. Right, you have to have like one person, exactly, and then it's best if that person, like you were doing, it's best if that person is not a person that would seem likely.
Well, and I think it's like Jordan came to me after the Graham vote, and he's like, "Did you know? Did you know?"
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I didn't. I actually didn't. Like Kyle didn't tell me that was happening, and I kind of was like, listen. I'm not going to vote Sharon, and it's up to you how you want to play this out. And, like that was one where I understood it that German had put some strings on the idol he gave to Kyle. And German had called and said, it's either Graham or it's Chelsea. And since Jordan had approached Kyle and said, hey, we can use Chelsea and get Cowan out. So Kyle knew that obviously I was working with Jordan on that one, and Kyle knew that I was working with Sharon. So obviously it's easier for him to approach Sharon to get Graham out, knowing I'm not going to vote Sharon. So, like there's things where I was just like, I don't want to know. I'm already in a bad position knowing Jordan and Graham want Sharon out, and Sharon's my girl. So that was not an easy vote. It was not. And that's 2 weeks in a row where I've been put in a position that I didn't want to be in, and I didn't want to have to vote Cowan out. But I also knew if I flipped last minute and kept Cowan in, knowing that Jordan and Kyle were going to vote Cowan, then what I was doing was tying the revote, and then Jordan, Graham, and I were all at risk.
So why were you guys so bad at immunity challenges for a little while there?
I would like to evoke my right to the fifth, or plead the fifth. Do we have that up here in Canada?
Maybe probably it's something similar to that, I bet. But I think that your answer answered the question.
I think if you cannot piece it together, you were not paying attention.
So Peter got 8 votes today. Were you surprised by how many people went your way on that vote?
Well, it wasn't my way. It was definitely, there was another person that was kind of leading the charge on that. I had approached someone and said, hey, like, what if we went for German? And at the time I was told that was dangerous talk. And then the next morning it was like, let's go for German. And I was like, okay. So my dangerous talk is now a plausible play.
Right.
So, and I think sometimes it's dangerous talk until someone independently approaches you and says the same name. And then you're like, maybe there's some traction here. So 8 votes for German. No, not surprised. I was surprised that Chris played the idol for German. I did get a call with like 0 minutes to 6. Can you play your idol? Is it too late? And I was like, I don't have an idol, so I'm really sorry. But no, I can't play an idol that I do not have. So this narrative that I have, it is hilarious.
Do you think Chris wasted his idol on Peter?
I do believe Peter has the idol. I do believe Chris was duped.
Do you think Chris would be fine in the game moving forward if Peter went home today?
I think Chris would have been, I think Chris would have been fine. Like his name was not one that came up often, and I think it is too bad that he plays a game that has such a, he talks out of the side of his mouth so much, like saying one thing to me and then turning right around, copy, pasting, changing, or telling people that he wants to vote me out because it would effing crush me. Like that's
not
that
nice,
stuff isn't, like it's not nice. It's not easy to read. But it's like, he would have been fine because he's gutless. And, it's funny, like he watches these videos and he gets so offended when people don't like how he's played the game. But guess who's still in the game and look at who's not. So Chris is still in there, like he's playing it right.
A lot of names he's gotten in these tribal council videos.
Well, if you did a track, and I also have tracked literally everything. I can tell you how many tribals each person has been to, how many votes each person has received. I could tell you, like I've been tracking voting power just to try and manage this kind of stuff. I could tell you like what place, when they were eliminated, any revotes, any idols played, votes or votes casted against idols that have been, like all of it. Like I was ready for anything you had coming at me.
Tell me, what are you going to do with all your free time?
Well, I might get a life. My coworkers are going to be so sad to hear that I'm out. They've all been following along. But now I get to have some say in who wins, which is kind of cool too.
And as of right now, you know, first member of the jury, 13 people still left in the game, but who do you think's played the best game and is deserving of victory up to this point?
I'm going to remove Ruth, April, and John from my evaluation because I've had all of one day in working with them.
Sure.
Of the three of them, I think April has done an amazing job of staying alive. So I think of the three of them, you know, like I am rooting for April. But respect to John for being to, I think, 11 tribal councils and having 0 votes cast against him. Like, that's pretty stellar. Ruth, I kind of tried to work with. I felt like she was more grilling me than willing to open up. So I tried opening up a bit more, and it was what it was. But of the people that I have played the game with now, you know, I'd love to see Kyle win again. I think if people don't see what a puppeteer German is by now, then he will likely win. It's just been interesting hearing how people have kind of learned some things about different people, and not just German, like anyone in general, how things come out. It's so interesting to see. But played the best game so far. I don't know. Like,
give some love to Sharon.
Yeah, Sharon. Like, you know what? Sharon, I think, has kind of taken a bit of what you said, and you and I chatted about this today. With like you kind of.
I was so disappointed in Graham and Cowan going home that I didn't give enough credit.
She's played
to
a great
you and
game
Sharon
and
Kyle for making those moves. Yeah,
you know, like she fought her way into the game, or she fought her way to stay, and you know, all the power to her. She's aligned, you know, with the right people, but one of those people is now gone. That's some credit to me. But you know, like Sharon and I chatted, and you know, she's like, well, Mike thinks I've sent his whole family home, and I was like, Sharon, 1 vote did not send all of Mike's family home, and you were only one vote.
The ones before that did.
But also the tribe had to get along to do that.
Of course.
I don't know, like playing the best game so far. I don't know. I give props to Cox for staying alive. You know, he's vindicated himself, even with being a little bit vacant. You know, I think some people like when you play the game a little more, and it would be great to see him engage more. I might make another group chat just for Cox because I know how much he loves group chats. I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm forgetting people, but I think it's if you're still in the game, you're playing a good game, you know. And I think the biggest thing in this game is having a partner you can actually 110% trust, and I had that in Kyle. And I think it's good to have because it's someone to bounce kind of truths off of and check things, you know, like the number of times that Brian said to Kyle that I'm paranoid and we need to play off my paranoia and paranoid. Is a girl paranoid for looking at options, or is she just weighing out her options? You know, like if a guy was weighing his options, i.e. Cowan's played video, is Cowan paranoid or a wild card?
Super paranoid.
Super paranoid.
But the P word never came out.
Right.
What do you think is going to happen to Kyle now?
Oh, I think I've outed him pretty hard. But I know he's okay with it. We chatted about what was going to happen when this came out and how it was going to go down. I think, like, Kyle has not played a dirty game. You know, like he's done his best, I think, to stay true to his word, to play a solid game. And I think even with me sharing that he and I were together, it doesn't really impact him much. Like, I'm out of the game, so he's a lone wolf, and now he's an agent up for grabs.
Do you think the 8 people, I guess 7 people now that voted for Peter are going to be able to stick together and keep that going, or it's going to be mayhem now?
I hope so. I wasn't a big leader to rally people, so people don't fall apart that I'm gone. If someone like German leaves, he is someone who manages to send like 2 minions out into the world and have them do their bidding. You know, like Paul is the only person who told me today that he talked to German. Nobody else that I knew of really heard from German. So, you know, there's German just kind of doing his puppeteering. You know, he's someone who is not totally engaged in the game in the sense of showing up for calls or whatever. And he has sat back quite a bit. So I think it's kind of a luxury that he gets to be in the position he's in, and there's no way I'm not envious of it.
Was there anything that you can pinpoint now that you would do differently throughout the game to position you better come merge?
No, like you kind of run a risk and you weigh your pros and cons with every vote and every decision you make. You know, James had said that he wouldn't vote for me and he would repay his debt from the Silas vote. And then he messaged me saying, sorry, debt fully repaid, and sent me a screen grab when he went home from Survivor Hamilton too. So someone holds grudges.
He said the same thing to Amanda that he wasn't going to, I think he said the same thing to Amanda that he wasn't going to vote for her or something too.
So James is a sneaky fish. And then, like, I don't know. I'm not a grudge holder. I really...
Maybe it would help you if you wanted to just name more names. Who else you're mad at?
Well, like, I'm not even mad. Like, I mean, I kind of just...
It was only 4 votes.
Yeah, like, and I'm 95% sure that was probably Chris, James, Peter, and probably John. If I would naming names, you know, if Ruth voted for someone else, I don't know. She told me she didn't want to vote for me, so I have to assume that's the case. So those are my guesses on who the 4 were. I wouldn't be surprised if Elliot was in that group, mainly because he called me today and he flat out asked me, like, who was the Dave vote when I went home? And I wasn't about to lie, so I came clean and said that was Jordan. It wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also might have helped seal my fate with Elliot. He kind of laughed and then never talked to me for the rest of the day. So I was like, well, I'm screwed. But like, I don't want to lie to people straight up, you know, but I do need to play the game as well. So.
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. Well, now I just get to judge someone else's fate.
That's right. Well, and I was going to say, anytime, you know, you're part of that many votes, 8 votes, like you've done kind of your job, right? And then an unexpected idol comes out and screws you. So it's not like you made a huge mistake. It's Chris went out on a limb and took a risk to give away some of his power to get rid of you. He
played an idol the right way, right? Like to control a vote. I will be very curious to hear his side of the story tomorrow morning, if he still calls me after this.
To record that call.
We've had a chat the last 2 mornings while he drinks coffee and we go for our morning walks, but that obviously meant nothing. And I think I knew anything Chris said to me was with a grain of salt, given that, you know, I want to crush her. You know, she's like, those were his words.
What a piece of shit.
I think somebody said that about one of the girls in Navala originally too, something with that same breaker spirit or something like that. Or that was about April, actually. I think that was Dave saying that about April, and that sent him home for saying something similar kind of at the time.
Well, and I would say with some of the things that were said, within the context of the game, everything is love. You know, it's all fair in Love and War. It's all fair in Survivor Hamilton. I think what everyone should be aware of is these are still humans. And if you are attacking someone's personality or you are attacking...
a piece of shit in the game, Chelsea.
No,
I'm saying Chris went outside of the game and he took it too far.
Well, and I've seen instances, like I'm in all the chats, right? And then I'm in other chats that aren't even official ones. And I've seen people just talking and calling people names and using words that are just inappropriate that you would never use to somebody's face. So why use them in a group chat? And it's just like, you just got to think, even if that person is not part of that group, you know, these other people are being exposed to that sort of language and that sort of negativity and name calling. And you should call that out individually if you're seeing it, and be careful not, you know, yourself to just, you know, if you're frustrated at something, just say you're frustrated. You don't have to go attack somebody else.
Take a step before you, like, these played videos happen right after you're voted out, and like emotions are high. You know, you're like, oh, I've been had, or oh, I'm so pissed off, or any number of things. You know, like maybe when you get voted out, like just take a deep breath instead of doing a shot. Like, don't encourage your crazy wild emotions, just cool out. And same thing, like there are times when I'm like, why is this person doing this? And it's like, well, no, if I were in their shoes, I get it. And I think that's one thing with this game is just be a little bit more aware of how you talk about people.
What are you going to do with that new sign that you made?
Rip it down. Yeah. We're waiting for that. Rip it in half.
Well, no, maybe this is like the Tendua like death board, and I'll just start adding names, and then at jury, all the people that died are here. I mean, this sign cost me, I think, $3.50 to make.
Yeah, I don't think you should rip it.
No, I almost put everybody's name on here. Like, you know what? Like, Chris, you crushed me. So congratulations.
Yeah, I hope you're proud of yourself. We're going to have Chris in this conversation soon. Your day will come, Chris Pittman.
It will. And it may be when he's at the jury. Or, sorry, it may be when he's in the final two.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So that's it, right? Because once you hit this point, like, you can be an asshole if you want, but remember who's going to decide who's going to win.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say that the person you want out of the game most next is Chris? Or
no,
is there any?
Absolutely not. I want German out of the game.
That's right, yeah.
That's not a secret. I've wanted him out since day one.
Why?
Because he's someone who, like I said, he sit back and he's the architect and everyone else runs his errands. And so nothing directly comes from Peter German's mouth. It always comes from somebody else. And like he limits the number of people that he talks to. So he's wonderful at manipulating people.
Every time we have one of these calls, somebody gets called the puppet master and the mastermind. So I can't wait to see who the real masterminds really are.
But that goes back to like when I said it's an easy vote. It's your perception of the game, right? Like my perception of an easy vote was German tonight. Like, guys, it's so easy. But for German, that's not an easy vote. For Chris, that was not the best vote. Like, you have to look at what's right for your game. And so for my game, I just see German as someone who is an architect.
So there are some key moments in the game that shaped the trajectory, right? One of them was the second vote, with Silas being voted out, right? Instead of James, right? James is still here, probably voted for you. Silas wanted to go against the Pittmans, Peter as well. So do you regret that vote? Because I asked Cowan the same thing.
You know, I think looking back at some of the things that have come to light, someone said, like, I was working with Peter and Elliot on that vote, and my jaw just dropped. And I was like, so that explains the conversations that we had, is you were trying to sway the majority a certain way. And when that person fell, and when Cowan was like, let's just fucking, excuse my language, I'm not a big swear. I'm quoting Cowan, so it's to be expected.
Literally, that was exactly right. Cowan was in the same sentence.
When he's just like, let's just go after him. It was like, all right, fine. Like, we're taking out Silas. And Silas come to me before the game and said, like, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. But knowing, and you know, I said I don't hold grudges, but maybe I do a little bit, or maybe I just hold cautionary, you know, wariness.
Oh, last game, yeah.
Like, he and Kate and Tyler annihilated us, you know, and I was just lucky that I was part of a vote swap or a tribe swap the week that I was supposed to go home. I lasted way longer than I was supposed to in the last round, for sure. But I think I earned my spot here.
Absolutely, you did. What was your favorite?
I wish I could have seen you stay a lot longer, Chelsea. Truly.
100%, absolutely. What was your favorite moment or vote of the game? Like, what stood out for you as like when you felt like the best about your game, or about the game in general?
That's a really good question. I don't know if there is a moment.
Is it all just like stress and like nerves and no like highs?
Well, like, one thing I never felt was ever confident. Like, because like the second you feel confident is the second that the game gets you. And even walking into this vote tonight, ironically, I felt confident that I was going home, and I was going home, right? Like, going home is the only thing I've been confident in. And I've never been, like, I've always been in a pretty good spot where I felt like I knew where the vote was going. I could probably tell you the numbers before the vote happened for most of them. So I think tonight, when I got the call and this, like, sorry about tonight, like, debt's been repaid, like, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going home, and sorry guys, I don't have an idol, so I didn't flush anything out. Like, it's German. I'm so sure of it.
Awesome. Meg, do you have any other questions? for Chelsea?
Yeah, Chelsea, what should I watch?
Ooh, there's a new Netflix show called Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh my God, I watched episode 1 and I got too scared I had to turn it
There's
off.
actually a podcast on that if you want to listen to it instead. Big into podcasts, love Trevor Noah, and a lot of like the Wondery podcasts are really good as well. Business Wars is phenomenal as well. I just listened to Uber versus Lyft, super good.
Good recos.
Thank you.
So what are you listening
to? Chels?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, whatever. You know what? I get my Mondays and my Thursdays back.
All that time back.
I can shower on Tuesdays and Sundays and Fridays and not be worried. You know, I don't have to be on my phone on vote days all the time. Like, I get to now pay attention in conference calls that I'm on. Because, like, even though I work in sports and we're not doing much, you know, I do still have a job that I have to work. So
it's nice that you get such a feeling of relief when you're voted out of the game, right? That people do. Yeah,
you know
I really
what? If
like
you don't
that.
feel relief, I think all you feel is anger and pain. You know,
what are you looking for?
I was going to say, the other thing is, like, I think a lot of people come into this game, they're like, I don't care what people think of me. But then you get voted out and you kind of have, like, your identity shook of, like, what did I ever do to you? You know, like I said it earlier in the tribal call where I'm like, you know, you can point the fingers in all the ways you were wronged, but the longer you are in the game, you know, the more likely you're going to receive more of those fingers. So weird way to word that, but that is what it is.
So I'll try this question for the third time.
Okay.
What are you looking forward to seeing most from the 13 players left in the game? Any rivalries coming to a head or like blindside?
And what comes together? Because I think, you know, like there are, I know Kyle and I were not the only quote unquote secret partnership. And so, you know, are there other ones that are existing that people just don't know about? You know, James had approached me about a secret partnership and that obviously went to the crapper. You know, Chris was kind of like, we can do stuff, but I knew that was kind of tomfoolery and shenanigans right out of the gate. You know, like, yeah, like I think it'll be interesting to see what falls apart, what comes together. And I don't even think I could predict who's in the final two at this point.
Excellent. So you're going to be alone in the jury for a few days. So that'll be nice. Yeah.
But I get to go to Exile Island with everybody, right? I don't have to go to like Jury Island.
No, they're not. They're gone. They're done. They're like dead to us now.
So I literally have no chat group to join. I just have to like sit and talk to myself.
Chelsea, I have a feeling if anyone's going to successfully revive their own Exile Island group chat, it's probably going to be you.
Yeah, let me think about that.
I'm going to get in a boat and find Exile Island.
From the game standpoint, you've played a bunch of these. Obviously the last two were more similar than the other one. Any kind of comments on the changes this year and any suggestions for next time?
I love the speed of the game with the 2 challenges per week and the window of time. You know, I think that it's almost an advantage for everybody. So no one is at an advantage. Like it's an even playing field, I guess, because we all know to be ready between 5 and 9. I think that like, I like the speed, the pace, and the go, go, go. I would say maybe if you're going to change anything, it would be make the voting day like the day after tribal.
After?
Make tribal council the day after the immunity challenge, because it's a long time and a lot of phone calls over 2 days. And if you can minimize it to 1, then like actually take a day off.
Yeah. So do like Monday, Tuesday, and then you get Wednesday off, and then it's like Thursday, Friday or something like that. Or Or Friday, Saturday.
Yeah. Because otherwise you're kind of on call the entire week, right? Because the Tuesdays, the Fridays, and the Sundays, like, yes, reward challenges can come through, but I'd rather not be dealing with chatting about a tribal council for a full 2 days.
Yeah, I can get that. Yeah. Do you think it would be better if it would be much harder for me to keep track of, but better if the votes were live at the video at tribal council?
It could be fun. I think, yeah, you know,
I see everybody kind of like messaging each other anyway, and you know what I mean? And like, and because everyone can just message each other, like, it might
also slow it down.
Playing an idol could still be just as easy.
Yeah, it might also slow it down
way,
because you may be like, guys, I need your votes. And everyone's like, are we doing this? Are we doing this? Are we doing this? Whereas having that in before forces the call to move along.
That was my thought process around it.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're doing. Yeah.
What about playing idols at the end? Obviously, you know, like what about saving the idol part for the video?
I think...
but then again, everyone could possibly know what all the votes are because they've all been cast by that point. That's the thing, right?
And then it's like, you know, like let's say I did have an idol tonight and, you know, word got to me that Chris was playing his. Do I sit and wait to see if he plays his before I would play this one that I have? You know what I mean? Like, how would that work?
Sometimes there's this game of chicken that happens on the TV show where it's like who's going to go first.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's something I'll think about anyway.
I think, you know, the vote, if they thought they think I have one and they thought they were flushing it out, if Chris was waiting for me to stand up and say I've got the idol, and then he never plays it for German because, you know, whatever. So it could have been an interesting dynamic. Again, it would have helped if I had an idol.
Any bombs you want to drop or any advice you want to give to the players still in the game or anything you want to say to the 13 or 14 people who watch this video on YouTube?
I think don't get mad when someone lies to you. You've probably told a lie or two in your time. And thanks for doing this. Like it's been such a great way to spend COVID, but I won't lie. I think I'm about to relocate to another city for 2.5 months. So it's probably a good thing my time is up.
Is that true?
Yeah.
What city?
Where are you going?
I don't know yet. There's some decisions to be made probably in the next 2.5 weeks. So
sweet.
I could be
like a Canadian city for CFL stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
Nothing's in stone, but CFLPA and our executives and what's going down. So we shall see.
Sweet. Well, I hope you. I'm glad for you there.
Go sports!
Yeah. We could use them. Okay. Well, thanks again.
It's not Florida. It's not Disney World, but hey, I'll take some cold Canadian city if it's sports.
Florida and Disney World is way worse right now than any other Canadian city you could go to.
In the bubble, it may not be.
In the bubble, it's going to be a death trap, but we'll see.
Anyway, we'll get into that on another call.
Of course.
It's called Post Played with Mike, Meg, and Chelsea. Or playing sports. Anyway.
Meg, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, not really. I
saw you poking your face.
Yeah.
Well, Chelsea, thanks so much for your enthusiasm for the game. Like, obviously, you're probably the most enthusiastic of everybody who plays, and that's always makes us a huge fan of you and of anything you do.
Well, it doesn't make German John James or Elliot a fan of me.
Well, no one's a fan of them because, like you said, they just, for the most part, sit back and do all their moves kind of individually, you know, with no flashes, but it works at least for them. But
what's the goal of the game? To win. Nobody signs up to lose. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. I'm glad that you're going to get some time. Obviously, get all your time back, but excited for you to be kind of the leader of the jury here and get to welcome everybody in. And
well, it's fun to be the first of something.
Well, that's right. And you'll get to influence everybody, hopefully, a little bit as well.
I'm not playing any games yet.
No, that's right. Enjoy the rest of the week, eh?
Thanks, guys. And thanks for doing so much.
Good game, yeah.
Bye.
Bye, Chelsea. Take care, everybody.